her other quarterback is on bye week, Joe Burrow, so you need to be in touch with her. All right, so Heather Dinich had a story on ESPN.com about the Rose Bowl and the college football playoff, trying to expand to 12 teams as early as 2024. Everyone involved, of course, doing what they can. Must be unanimous, agreeing to change the terms. The college football playoff, though, and the Rose Bowl are negotiating the historic game's role in the new model. A Rose Bowl official telling ESPN in an exclusive interview. Laura Farber, the chairman of the Rose Bowl Management Committee, said the game would like to maintain the exclusive broadcast window at January 1st at 2 o'clock Pacific time in years that it would also host the college football semifinal. But the Rose Bowl has not heard yet back from the college football playoff, at least for a couple of weeks. Centers around one of the most lucrative television windows in college sports, and while it's not the only issue surrounding the expansion, it's one of the most complicated. The Rose Bowl is willing to temporarily concede its relationship with the Big Ten and Pac-12 to host a quarterfinal game in 24-25, and eventually more. Here's the bottom line. The Rose Bowl is grumpy. They're the ones that are like, when you have a get-together, they're the person in the room that, like, brings everybody down.
Well, and look, it all centers around the Tournament of Roses parade, which they believe is apparently crucial to the planet's survival, and that it can only be the game, the parade and the game. But I believe what the college football playoffs point is, and it took a parade to get me to agree with Bill Hancock on something, is why does the game and the parade have to be on the same day? You can do the parade on January 1st until the cows come home. It does not matter. If the game winds up there, great. If the broadcast window works out, great. But things are different now. And because you've done it this way for 103 years is the freaking problem. That's college football's problem. It's always been done this way. That's what they are finally trying to get through. And it is going to be a slog of breaking years and years and years of, well, we always did it this way. It seemed to work out. Well, it's not working that way anymore. Fans want something different. Be part of the playoff or don't be part of the playoff Rose Bowl. But dear God, don't let it happen because you have to have your parade and the game on the same day. That's the only thing. And she got through the statement almost all the way by making some good points. Look, we just need a little flexibility every now and again. Okay, let's work with every bowl game and find the flexibility and, kind of like trading days off at work. You can have Wednesday, I'll take Thursday kind of a thing. I think that's the point she was trying to make until she got to what's really driving this is a freaking row of decorated traffic. That's what's going on. That's why they're doing this. And I get that it's a beautiful event and it's one of a kind, blah, blah, blah. You can still have it on January 1st, even if the game isn't there. They are not mutually exclusive. You can do it, Rose Bowl. Just move on.
You want to try to follow that up, Craig?
I mean, yeah, I can, but it's kind of confusing. So is the deal is like they just want to be able to play in the daytime when it's a semifinal?
They want to play on January 1st or January 2nd, depending on, because if it falls on a Sunday, then it'd be on January 2nd. And they want to be able to play every single time in the 2 p.m. Pacific window because they'll say it's about the eyeballs on the game, but it's not. The 2 p.m. Pacific window allows them to end the parade at noon or 11 o'clock and then go right into the game.
Yeah, I mean, I can see their point of view because of tradition and all of that, but I mean, it's hard for me to not start laughing when I hear college officials talking about traditions and whatnot these days, because they basically just said F tradition, in terms of realignment and, the playoff is bucking tradition, quite frankly. The tradition has been changed when it's suddenly needed to be changed, so I don't think that that's something that prevents you from possibly moving. It's just simply tradition, because they've proven time and again that can be changed and still, have some remnants. Like, I don't think the Rose Bowl parade matters less if this doesn't happen, quite frankly. Yeah. I know the Rose Bowl people think that it does, but for someone like me who's got no skin in the game, this makes zero difference to me. Zero difference to me. So I would imagine people on the West Coast, who grew up with the Rose Bowl and granddaddy of them all and all that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, it was always a big game. It was always something that I paid attention to, but it was never like this personal, like this is the greatest thing of all time, like it is for some people. So I can't relate to that. And therefore this isn't a big deal to me at all. Like if they want to play at night at the Rose Bowl, I don't care. Like the setting's still the setting. It's still LA or, LA, generally LA, what have you. Or Pasadena, I guess, is technically what it is, but it's still all those things to me. Like I wouldn't even have noticed if there wasn't even if there was this big talk about it. And I know that sounds crazy because it's always been a certain way, but I honestly it's never been that important to me. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask. I understand where they're coming from. I also understand why there's some people that roll their eyes and like, are you kidding me? Like you have to have your parade and your setup in your way and it can't be any different. I understand that part of it too. I can't imagine this parade's going to clog traffic so much that a college football playoff expansion can't get done simply for this reason. I mean, that would be absurd. And I think even the Rose Bowl people would have to acknowledge that if we got down the tracks that far with this, of like, if this was the reason why they weren't able to do it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I do think that it's a little bit overblown, but I've also never been to a game there. So I'm sure people will say, well, you don't understand if you haven't been there. You weren't there to watch Vince Young run over USC. Like you don't get it, but the Sunsets look great on TV. It's a cool venue. I'd love to check out a game there, but I'm not Mr. Rose Bowl. So she's barking up the wrong tree as far as me.
Hold on, Paul. The Matt Baker tweet. You'll love this. Matt Baker, we've had him on Tampa Bay Times. Look, because 100-something years ago, someone decided to have a parade about flowers, we can't have a 12-team playoff in 2024. That's just flawless, irrefutable logic that makes perfect sense to everyone.
Exactly. Matt, we are simpatico. I mean, that's true. You cannot – the thing is, I don't understand because the game and the parade being tied together, nobody's canceling the parade. You're just ending it, and the people are going home. As a matter of fact, there's probably less intersection in the audience for the game, actually, like the physical people there, than the Rose Bowl even realizes. And it's just not worth it to hold this thing up and constantly negotiate. And most of the time, I would bet that they would get that window. Now, the other problem with it is that bowl games might move. We'll talk about it in the top 5 a little bit. January 1st is going to be obviously a big goal date for college football, but they might get this worked out, and then the big days might be January 8th. The calendar is going to be tough to navigate. There's a lot of things that have to change in the calendar for all of this to work and for the other bowl games to fit in and all that. So I think, again, I don't want to spoil the top 5, but, the Rose Bowl needs to just be way more malleable than they have been.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that they're not being totally closed-minded. I mean, they've obviously opened up the idea of not having like the permanent Big Ten, Pac-12, fixture, which you're going to have to find a way around that if you're going to be a part of this expanded playoff somehow. But yeah, it's just, I mean, like I said, I'm not the audience for this. I didn't grow up watching the Rose Bowl like it was the greatest thing of all time. It was a really great bowl game in a cool location that was one of a bunch of other great games that I always watched. I know it's different, though, for some people. I saw some tweets, I think it was like yesterday or something, about how it should be the permanent fixture for the national championship game. Have it set up to where it's truly the granddaddy of them all, and it's the last, part of the road on the way to a national title. I definitely don't agree with that. I think it needs to move around the country, but we'll see how much this becomes a problem, I guess, as time goes on. But something's got to have to give on both sides to make something happen, obviously. And I don't think that if a game time changes, it ruins the 100 years of the Rose Bowl's history. I'm sorry. I think that's kind of silly to think that a game time affects it that much. Because, I mean, if the game time is that important, how, like, I don't know. I kind of question why that has to be that way to get that same sort of feeling from it. But again, it's not my deal, so I don't know.
The reason this is even an issue and that
you just hate parades.
No, yes, I do. I don't like them. I think they're silly and a big waste of time and money.
No, don't go into all that.
I do think this for the Rose Bowl.
A lot of people
the one card they have in their corner is they've got a signed contract right now. So the CFP could, if they didn't have that contract, be like, okay, Rose Bowl. Look, guess who else college football screwed for years and years? And it was mostly the Cotton Bowl's fault, but they screwed the Cotton Bowl for years and years. They, said, all right, well, you're not a big-time game anymore, and we're going to move on, and these are the 4 games, and you're at best the 5th best one.
Until this guy built this massive
exactly. But it was like a lot of that had to do with the Cotton Bowl's fault, but, somehow the Fiesta Bowl cut in line on the Cotton Bowl. And yeah, exactly. But the Cotton Bowl wasn't doing those things. So they've left people behind before. And if there's enough power, they could. But again, they've got a contract.
Dude, if Alabama and Georgia are playing or whatever matchup you want to throw out there, it doesn't matter if it's in freaking Pasadena or if it's in New Orleans. People are going to be watching. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing is, like, they're not the highlight. They might be for some people who grew up watching it and going to the parade and all of that out on the West Coast. But it makes no difference to me where Clemson lines up against LSU. And what I mean? Like, just play the damn game. Yep. If it's got a pretty sunset, cool. If it doesn't matter. If it's got a dome on it, I don't care. Like, I just want to see the teams. I'm not watching the pageantry is a huge part of college football. Don't get me wrong. And the Rose Bowl has as good a pageantry as anybody, but not to the point of where, like, it delays an expanded playoff or it should be able to, be the roadblock to college football moving forward. I think that part of it, that kind of, it's not snobbery, but kind of this elitist sort of feel around the Rose Bowl and its importance, I do think is a bit stuffy and silly, and it matters to some folks, but I definitely don't think it matters to the majority of folks. If you were to move that thing and put the same 2 teams there, some people are going to miss that parade and the timing of it, I suppose, but most people are not even going to probably notice.
Let me read her quote from Farber. For anyone to say the Rose Bowl game is the sole reason right now that expansion may not happen before the current cycle runs out is categorically wrong. Yes, we need to work through the details of our contract and our separate broadcast agreement, but we remain open to that. That's what she says. There are also issues not specific to our game that need to be resolved, including the NFL schedule, revenue sharing, and on-campus schedules. What we're asking for is a 3-hour window every 3 years. If you think about that in the big picture, it's not a big ask. January 1st is an important part of the Tournament of Roses New Year's celebration. We believe that fans will expect to see that and want to see that. Go ahead and have it. January 1st, do your thing. You start out with the Rose Parade, and on the same day, you have the Rose Bowl game to celebrate the start of the new year. It's not only tradition, it's part of the brand, who we are, and what has been built since 1903.
Okay.
1903.
Also, we want to keep and integrate the granddaddy of them all into a postseason model. The game can still be the granddaddy of them all, no matter when you play it. But it doesn't have to be connected to the Rose Parade. And I'm not trying to be anti-Chamber of Commerce or whatever it is. You sometimes just have to understand change.
Hey, all she had to do before she got to the parade was stop.
Yep.
Because she was right.
Yep.
They're not the only reason that it could or could not happen, but you're the stupidest reason that it could or could not happen. So just be a little more flexible and realize that those 2 things don't have to be together. The game could be on January 3rd. You can still do the parade. People can go home earlier. Way to go.
And you could still have, and it is, the color, the pageantry, the tradition is incredible. So, okay, enough of that, right?
Yeah, I said a lot about something I really do not care about at all. I mean, I really don't. And I said a lot about it because we're a talk show. But if that thing were played on January 6th, I mean, it would not change my life in any way, shape, or form. And that's just me, though. I understand it's different for other people. Not trying to be disrespectful, but that's where it matters not to me.
Yeah, it's weird. And then again, I'm sure there are maybe some of you watching or that there's history there, your family, whatever. We get it. There's a lot of different traditions that people do dig their heels in because it's important to them. It may not be important to us, but it is to many, many other people that just – and I remember – so, Paul, speaking of parades, the Thanksgiving, you got Macy's and all that coming up?
I'm not a big fan of that one. I don't know if that's where it's not where it started for me, but yeah, Oh, look, there's Tweety Bird. It's big. Don't get it. I don't get it. I never will.
Okay.
I'm not anti-parade. I think they're fine. I think they're cool for families and kids. Paul, you'll be at some here in the future, I'm sure.
I promise you.
so-
I promise you I
No,
will
it's not your decision.
Oh, this one is. This one is.
So was
I've been to
House.
one.
See.
I've been one to. I wasn't even there. I mean, I got
You
home
were in the
later.
house.
But I've been to one parade since I was 14 years old, and that was this one down here when Baylor won the men's national championship. That was the only one I've been to, and that's it. And it was less paradey. It was more just old basketball players and new basketball
gonna
players
lose
walking
this.
in the street.
Okay.
No, I promise you I won't. I'm not doing it. I think they're stupid. My parents used to make me go to them and be in them all the time.
Yeah, but you also
So
said
there's
you were
the
never
root
gonna
of
get
it all.
married.
I mean,
There's the root that we've been trying to figure out all these years.
No, I'll tell the whole story. They used to make me be in every stupid, pointless,
There we go.
waste of
I've
time
wondered.
parade. It's a waste of civic dollars. There's nothing good that comes out of it. Oh, I had